what's up with my webcam? Why you all funky all of a sudden?
Because consistency.
When's the last time we did the show? We did this show since I made changes. And there we go. Whatever.
It fixed itself, I guess.
Yeah, I hit continue or install later on the update for the webcam software, which I don't usually have to do. But as soon as I did that, I went, oh, okay, I'll fix myself then.
Logitech.
Whatever.
Doing Logitech stuff.
Whatever. Turn some lights on. How's it going, board? How's it going, lurkers? How's everyone doing? How's it going, Rage? How's your weekend?
I slept like crap last night, so that unfortunately hasn't changed. But it is the weekend. Did get to sleep in. Hey, Daps.
How's it going, GD? I'm GBD, you're GD. That's how it's going to go from now on. We're going to confuse everyone. Gentleman by Dapper.
No, that's the eventual cologne brand.
That's after Gentleman Dapper becomes famous and starts his own line of eau de toilette.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we get to talk about Resident Evil 4 first.
What a game.
Doing good, fleshing out a class that I'm going to implement in a Diablo FPS game.
Interesting.
Very interesting. I look forward to seeing it. I like interesting ideas. I like trying them.
So, like, Borderlands? No Destiny, no Borderlands, too minimalistic stuff. Are you saying that they have too minimalistic stuff, or you have too minimalistic stuff?
Yeah. Borderlands wasn't really minimalistic. And in
18 kajillion guns, not enough for you?
Too much loot shooters, they forget the abilities. So it sounds like Borderlands had abilities, but they definitely focus more on the guns. It almost sounds more like a Overwatch meets Borderlands at that point. Because Overwatch is the FPS, but heavily focused on abilities. Like, heavily focused on abilities.
Diablo 2 is a very one-skill game, too. You're not wrong.
That's why Assassin was fun. Were you a lightning trap assassin? Was that you?
Just put down those traps and pray to the RNG gods.
It wasn't even an RNG god. You just put lightning traps down and win. Charge builder. Okay, that's acceptable. That's acceptable. I did Kickersons. Just because I love saying Kickerson. Try it.
Kickerson.
Hey, it's wonderful, isn't it?
It's pretty great.
Also, 32 attacks per second is super fun.
This is true. This is a true thing.
32 attacks per second with a 95% chance crushing blow is just dumb. For those that did not know Diablo 2, Crushing Blow was a chance to not deal damage based on your weapon damage, but instead deal 10% of their current health in damage. Assassins had a lot of stuff that was good at level 1 and such. You didn't have enough skill slots. At least for melee assassin. Yeah. But, like you said, by the end of the game, all of your skills are just in 2 skills. And all the rest of the skills are in skills that boost that 1 or 2 skills. It's a min-max game.
Because as we often say, the way to make an overpowered build is to find a thing and go overboard with it.
Focus. Build focus is key to RPGs. Just, I'm going to make this move that does damage do more damage. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to give it even more damage. And why? Because damage is like Jell-O.
can never have enough.
There's always room for more. You know, that same philosophy worked very well in Resident Evil 4. This gun does a lot of damage.
Works in most Resident Evil games, actually.
Let's make it do more damage. Actually, you know what? The one thing that did the most damage, there was no way to make it deal more damage. But it didn't matter, because it killed everything I hit it with for the whole game. I'm glad I picked that up at the beginning. I was like, oh, a rocket launcher. Yes. I'm going to carry you with me until I find something big. And then I found something big and went, rocket launcher! And it didn't die. And I went, huh. And then I shot it a few times and went, oh, weak point. And then I reloaded and went, rocket launcher! And it died. So let's start with the world building. Save all ammo, hey boss. Yep. Yeah, see, that's why the rocket launcher is so good. Because it saves all your ammo. If you don't use the rocket launcher on the boss, he's just an ammo sink. But the boss pops up, I've got all the ammo in the world for the rest of the enemies now.
It's true. It's very effective.
It was also great on bosses where people were like, oh, good luck with this boss. Oh, GG. that was a thing that happened.
Yeah, it's an awful lot like builds that we've made in other games, like for instance Destiny 2, where I made a boss deleter.
Stop breaking the game, Rage.
We actually did break several missions and put them into their failsafe state, which just clears out all of the enemies in the mission and lets you run to the end. Because it turns out the game isn't expecting you to kill the boss in one shot, immediately after the cutscene where it introduces it to you.
Yeah, the most egregious instance of this was right after the first expansion for Destiny 2 came out, where Rage and I were running through it together with our reasonably powerful Destiny 2 pre-DLC characters. We weren't raiding. We didn't have raid gear or anything like that. We just had the best outside of raid gear you could get, and we knew how to do a build. And the boss comes down, and it does this video, and I'm charging in there to get in there because that's my style. And as I'm getting in there, the boss just goes, oh, and dies because Raid shot it once. I was like, well, fuck.
It's true.
Now what? And then we're looking at the map of the level and everything. Well, we got a long ways to go, so I guess let's go. And I guess the whole area, like, you're supposed to chase the boss through it. And as the boss runs through the level, like, stuff spawns around it and you fight. But because the boss just died instantly, there was no boss to trigger the enemy spawns. So we just ran for, like, literally 5 minutes without a single enemy spawning. And then the level ended.
Oops.
Yeah, Destiny 2's not broken. Not at all. Not at all. All right. RE4 world building. We've got a few people here. Show of hands, quickly. How many people played RE4?
Me.
See the hands in the chat.
Did.
I know at least one. Okay. Is that a hand? That's not a hand. That's a kitty cat. Kappa.
It's a Kipo.
Kipo. I love it. There's a hand. Alrighty. And we got at least one person in chat that has played RE4. Hopefully you disagree with us. You played some of it. Why'd you stop?
It is pretty jank, and it was not as good an experience on period hardware.
That's fair. That's fair. It's wonderful on PC. Oh, no, wait. Did I play it on PC? No. No, I played it on PS5.
Did you?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, there you go. But I originally played the game on Wii, the first one, not the Wii U. And it was actually really fun. The controls worked really well on Wii. But the fact that you could just point at things and be like, you die now, and you die now, and you die now, made the game very easy.
And you get a bullet, and you get a bullet, and you get a bullet. Honestly, it was pretty easy with the control setup I had to. I didn't have a lot of problem. I found it pretty easy to aim, pretty easy to... And I found the tank controls far less egregious with a non-fixed camera point behind shoulder.
Yeah.
Like far less egregious. I was not expecting that. I was expecting to be pissed off by it, but I never was.
Although we have skipped ahead a bit in the review.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it just kind of happened, though. And
ran at like 20
here.
FPS on Board's laptop, so you ran into problems. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, frames are important to gaming.
I think the Wii ran it at 30 question mark.
It's like we always talk about, it's not as much your frame rate as much as your frame pace.
Yes.
Like a constant
pacing
20
is very
isn't bad.
important.
But if you're going like 40 down to 20 constantly, then you're just going to be like, ugh. RE5 was smooth. I'm sorry.
It's coming. You're going to have to play it.
No, I'm not. I'm really, really not going to have to play it.
I'll co-op it with you. That game's terrible. I love it.
Sure, I'll co-op it. We'll co-op it on weekends or something. That's cool. I mean, if you want to actually commit to like the week's schedule, I don't think you do. I don't think you do. It's more of a commitment than a lot of people realize. It's quite a bit of work. Yeah.
It's true.
World building. So what do I give Resident Evil 4 on the world building? Oh, this is control. And why does it not say control up here? There we go. I mean, you can't see where I just put control, but that's control. Resident Evil 4. Okay, world building.
World building in RE4. So
we can ignore RE5, 6, 7, 8, and all that. Let's just look at 1, 2, 3, and then into 4.
You're in a fictitious country.
Yep. But
fighting
still feels like old Scandinavian, despite being fictitious. You're pretty sure of where it is.
Yeah. You definitely get a feel of where in the world this fictitious country would be. There's a lot, I think, that relies on knowledge from previous games. Like, you can get through the game without playing the previous Resident Evil titles, and you'll probably have a pretty good time, because it's a pretty good game. But I feel like there's a lot of context that you would lose without that, and things might not make very much sense at all.
It is true, they never really talk about T or G. They don't talk about the virus or the infections. They don't talk about why it's suddenly a parasite. Spoiler. Not big spoiler.
Or how it became that way, or how it might have become that way. I would say, like, there's enough that you will have fun with the game, but it's not good.
Yeah, it's not so much world building as much as set building.
Yeah. Which, if that's all you're here for, like, if all you care about is there is a location in which you can play the video game, then it's fine.
Yeah, and it's not a world building game, and it's not an RPG. It's none of that, and it does do enough set building of the area around you that it feels organic, feels natural. And I didn't feel like I was necessarily running around a game level.
So some parts more than others, they did better at the set building, the set dressing of the areas you're running around.
I liked the... Well, where do you think the weak point is? Weak points are?
The weak points to me were the military installations and some of the churches, actually.
I'm honestly thinking I might be mixing some 8 in my mind.
Because 8 was fantastic. I loved 8.
But very much like 4.
Very much, yes. But just in 4, I didn't think they did as good a job of fitting those pieces together.
Yeah,
And to be fair, Resident Evil 8 is a very high bar.
oh yeah. Yeah, no, it absolutely is. Absolutely is. I think I'm at an okay. It's not terrible. They didn't destroy anything. They don't ruin the experience of the game by doing silly, ridiculous things. It's just kind of acceptably there.
It's fine. As we often say for things that are in an okay, it is fine.
It's fine. It's the world building, building, is nothing special and amounts to little more than set design. The set design, however, is good enough. Feels organic most of the time and does not throw "I'm a game level" in your face. Which actually is pretty good for Resident Evil, because they do tend to do a lot of stuff like that. In a lot of
They
them.
are very video gamey.
They are very video game. You're like, why do I need this? You'll find out. Okay. But that didn't happen so much. That didn't happen so much in this one. This one was laid out very well, where you're, the things you're grabbing are typically understood you're going to need it. Typically. I think
for the most part.
I can think of a couple areas in the like big church complexes where there was some puzzles where you're like, this is an item that I can grab.
I should probably grab it.
There wasn't a lot of it. There wasn't a lot of it. Characters.
Leon!
Oh, you stole my line, you jerk! Leon, help!
So characters. I have a lot of fun with the characters in this game, so I want to give them good marks.
They're not good.
But they're not good.
They're not good. They're not unenjoyable.
But it's not good writing.
It's
just not.
I did like the other kind of foreign guy that you run into. He stays mysterious most of the time. He drops in. He helps you out here and there.
I love to hate that character.
But I don't like him as a person, but as a character, I like his character. I thought he was well written, decently flushed out. They gave him a decent amount of backstory. He ends up having a proper amount of relevance.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't throwaway, and I think he fits well inside the story. But I just love to hate him. I think he's, and if that's what he's crafted for, they did a fucking fabulous job.
Yeah, I don't think you're far off on his purpose there. Ada felt like a cameo.
That's because she was.
Yeah, there's you could have swapped her out with any other character in the series and it wouldn't have affected the storyline at all. It didn't need to be Ada. They were just like, they like hot women in red dresses, throw her in.
When did this game came out? Was it around the time that Matrix came out? Because that would explain it.
Were you looking at me? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
It was 5 years after. Maybe.
No, by that point, by that point, I'm pretty sure Matrix 2 was out, and I don't think you'd be making Matrix references after that travesty hit the theater.
It was fine. It had well choreographed fight scenes.
One of the only movies I ever fell asleep in the theater in.
Which is a shame, because you missed the really good fight scenes.
I'm pretty sure I woke up for that part. I woke up by the end of that terrible long party scene.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I was only out for like 15, 20 minutes. The length of that stupid scene. That did not need to be that long. Leon is fine as a character. We were talking about him. He's got a little more depth than Chris, but not
Does he,
really.
though?
A little.
Because I wouldn't say he has much more
I guess
depth
not really
than
depth.
Chris.
He can just read.
He has more abilities than Chris. He is more able.
What even? What even? 420. So, what do you think, Gentleman Dapper? Characters. Where are we at? We've established they're not good. Are they bad?
I think a lot of it comes down to intent. And
granted, we do not have the writers here to be like, what did you mean to do with this character?
Yeah. Because if they intended it to be a campy, like, B-tier horror movie, then they nailed it. Like, it's super campy and dumb, and the characters are stupid, and I love them. And they nailed that.
I just want to point out that as intelligent people, we often see stupid characters and go, that's ridiculous, nobody would do that. But then if you watch an actual world event, people do that, because people tend to be pretty dumb. That was one of the me and Pookie, we watch a lot of movies and stuff like that together, and when we were watching movies, she used to go, nobody would do that. Why are they doing that? Why are they writing it this way? That's silly, that's stupid, nobody would do that. You know what? Normally, that's most people's reaction, because you look at it and you go, that makes no sense. Why would you do that? Like horror movies, running up the stairs in your house to get away from the killer. But you know what? When people panic, people do stupid things like that. That is exactly how they react. Because then we would do something like watch a real-world crime drama where they're going on about this actual case and they show what somebody did in that event, and you're like, wow, they're fucking dumb. Why would you do that? And then you realize, oh, this is real.
Panic.
Yep.
That's why they do that.
Yep, logic sections of your brain actually shut off when those hormones start pumping in order to give you the alertness. They make you act rather than reason. That's for your own safety, because if you sit there and try to reason, you tend to die. So they push you into action mode.
Which can be the only thing that saves you.
Or makes you run upstairs.
Lizard brain, man. Lizard brain. But I feel like there is a distinct possibility that they intended this to be like a B-tier horror movie sort of character writing.
I can see that.
I think it suffices at that. I wouldn't say that it's like one of the better examples of B-tier horror movie writing, but it's all right at it. It does okay.
So we're kind of like, it's okay. Campy, cheesy horror writing campy, cheesy horror characters, but we're pretty sure they meant to do that. Yeah,
that's where I'm sitting on character writing specifically. Like, there's no way that they didn't know how annoying Leon would be constantly.
Yeah, they still should have followed the standard rule with that and lock their audio guy in a room for an hour and make him listen to that audio file for the whole time and see if he has sanity when he comes out. He wouldn't have.
Not going to disagree with you there.
He wouldn't have, and they would have been like, maybe we shouldn't do this.
But I think, I think it's fine. And now we move to the storyline.
Might be a spot of contention for some.
Yeah, you think so?
I think it's a storyline that could cause some disagreement on quality. I do. Because it goes away from the virus right away, and that's the first time it leaves the virus, and...
Yeah, but at the same time, as a piece on its own, I think it does okay. I think it does all right. There's a lot of holes that I would have liked to have filled, but it does all right. It's okay.
You're not going to get a disagreement out of me. I just know that this is something a lot of people feel strongly about. In fact, when I talk to people about Resident Evil 4 in the past, just random people getting their feel for it, I get one of two answers. Best Resident Evil ever. Worst Resident Evil ever. That's it.
And then here we are splitting the difference again.
I'm not splitting the difference. We're not saying best or worst Resident Evil here. We're just saying as a game against all other games, it had okay writing.
Fine. Again, I think just like characters and, well, a lot of the writing category, it comes down to intent. And based on how the characters are written, how the story is written, I don't think it takes itself too seriously. I don't think the writers took themselves too seriously. I think it's a case of wanting to make schlock, and they succeeded.
As a schlock fan, like to the point where I was a major member and contributor in the Usenet days of alt.binaries.schlock. That's actually the name of it. alt.binaries.schlock, and it's wonderful. If Usenet still has that channel, go check it out. You find the most wonderful, terrible things there. It was really wonderful, and this is right on that level with writing. It really is. It really is. By the way,
they did a fantastic job of writing a terrible video game.
Everybody go watch this movie. H.G. Lewis, The Gorgor Girls.
That is a recommendation.
Just trust me. Just trust me. It's worth it. I guarantee you will laugh and then think to yourself, I'm going to hell for laughing.
Yeah, that is how most H.G. Willis films go.
He's also known as the grandfather of gore. Don't worry, it's not new gore. It's not modern gore. New modern gore tries to be real and go over the top with the reality and just make it as brutal and unnecessarily violent as they can. Old gore was silly and hilarious.
Right up until Evil Dead, and then every time that, the ankle. Too good.
The big one to actually make the change was Night of the Living Dead. That's when horror changed from comedy to horror. But we're not doing a talk on horror, even though Resident Evil, pretty horror relevant. So yeah, I think we're in agreement on an okay. From everything that I've heard you say.
Yeah,
RE4, Dead Space
I would say
before it was cool. You're not entirely wrong.
But I would say it's a high okay. I think they did a good job of writing crap, but it's still crap. So high okay?
It is well written crap, but it is still crap. It is written this way intentionally. It plays well if you are a fan of old horror. It may come across too campy if you are not familiar with the genre. Luckily, we love old horror camp.
Oh yeah. The Resident Evil movies are actually some of my favorite films. Not because they're good. The only one that you could argue is like even an okay film as like a filmmaker is the first one. The rest of them are absolute just schlock. But I love it.
And that's all that matters. I hated them. I felt they went too action. They felt too Hollywood action to me.
I like it.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying you're not allowed
taste.
to. Yeah, I'm just saying that's my personal... I'm not a big Hollywood action fan. Like, I don't like the John Wick movies.
Yeah. We discussed that
Yeah.
a couple days ago, where it was just basically, I love them because of how well choreographed the fight scenes are, and you're like, that's all they are. And I'm like, yeah, isn't it great?
I like that out of my games. I'm not such a big fan out of my movies. When I watch movies, I like to be mentally stimulated. Difference of opinions.
Coming and enjoying things for different reasons.
Yeah. That's why we have such a wonderful variety of art in the world.
I know, the puppy.
Yeah, I fully agree. I fully agree. I mean, I watch my own schlock films, but they're a different breed of schlock that I can't talk about on. Hit me on Discord if you want some movie recommendations for some interesting schlock. Yeah. I can't even like name the director, or people will be like, I'm not into the John Wick movies either. I need some more to it, like Matrix 1. Matrix 1 was a great movie.
Matrix 1 was fantastic. It was a great film.
You can analyze that movie from any angle. It's well made. Did you know that the last room that he's in when he gets shot at the very end is the same room Trinity's in at the beginning?
I knew that.
Performance. Okay, well, running it on a PS4, PS5, it's good.
Running it on a Wii, it was acceptable.
But we're going to type 4/5 here. It's basically the same on both of them. And if that's what we're reviewing, I don't think we can give it anything but a good. Hey, Val, welcome.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if we specifically call out that this is the PC/PS4/PS5 version.
No, not the PC one. Don't use the PC one. Do not use the PC one.
Oh, is it super broken?
Yeah, oh yeah. Couldn't even get it to open.
You should probably change the title above the summary then.
Thank you.
But the PS4, PS5, it's fine. It runs totally fine.
Yeah, it was great. Controlled great, loaded fast, handled well. Yeah. Yeah, totally the way to play it. Totally the way to play it. Animations.
I should probably leave a note in the performance section there.
Played
on PS5.
Were you running it in 1440p? Oh, do you have a 60 hertz monitor? 1080, and do you have a 60 hertz monitor? Support to 144, then you must have had it in 60 hertz mode. But since I stream at 60 hertz, yeah. If you have your monitor running over 60 hertz, it won't open.
As it turns out, there's a lot of monitors that do that now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I stream out at 60 FPS, but I go for 120 usually on my monitor at least. So the stream comes out smooth. And I've got a 177 hertz monitor. I might as well do the 120 hertz at least. I've got the card for it.
If you can double the refresh rate, then it's generally pretty flawless. But if you can't quite double, then you're better strapping it down to 60.
I'm streaming and capturing on the same PC. The only thing I use my Elgato capture card for is the PS5, PS4. Yeah, I've got the horsepower for it, right? Like, I went out and spent all the monies and built the behemoth computer, so I might as well use it. I was drooling for years over the
waiting.
Yeah, I started saving like 2 years before it came out.
Runs exceptionally well on
PS4,
PS5. Do not recommend the PC version, as it has issues running at over 60 hertz. Oops. Wii / GameCube / PS2 locked to 30. PS2 runs bad.
There you go. I'll resize it. Animations. I liked the bosses. They stand out.
Yeah, the boss animations are quite good in this. They're very like Dead Space before Dead Space.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I liked the bugs. I thought they were really well done. Not just for the era.
They're well done and not too like realistically bug-like that they give me the willies. You're just like, yep, that is a video game bug, and I'm going to apply shotgun.
This bug is big enough for a big gun. The basic people enemies were kind of mechanical most of the time, but they weren't terrible.
Well, keep in mind, they aren't necessarily fully functioning humans.
Yeah, they are being controlled by something as well. So a bit mechanical or maybe even a bit puppet-like might be appropriate.
RE4 didn't come out on N64 board. Or did it? Am I totally wrong? No, it was GameCube. GameCube and Wii.
There you go. I think it's an okay. They're definitely not bad.
They're definitely not bad. The weapon animations, I would say, are lacking. I think a lot of the character animations and like the player character animations and the basic enemies holds it back from being a good. But I'm fine with an okay.
Animations are pretty good for the era. Definite ATELY. Not bad. RE2 and 3 were on N64 though with super compressed audio. Yeah, N64 was not a strong contender in the market. If it RE2
had some of the best games though.
Yeah, well, I mean, not compared to the PlayStation.
I would say the quality of something like Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask matches up with some of the best PS2 games.
Yeah, Nintendo did release some, like, that's where Nintendo sells their systems, right? I think a big seller of it was also Mario Party.
Oh yeah, Mario Party was huge.
Licensing GoldenEye, stuff like that. Oh, Super Smash Brothers. It was the multiplayer stuff that really sold the console because they had the 4 ports.
Oh yeah, that was a big differentiator.
The animations are pretty good for the era, definitely not bad. The guns and enemies hold it back a bit, while the bosses are quite impressive. Donkey Kong, that was SNES. The first one was anyway, and the second one I think.
Well, and then there was the Bongos game, or was that GameCube?
That was N64, I think. The Bongos. What a ridiculous idea.
I love that Nintendo just does wacky shit like that, though.
Yeah, no, I love them for it too. They push video games forward that way. But they also sometimes, do stupid things and hold it back, and then Guitar Hero comes along and everyone goes, yeah, but remember the Bongos? They heard that a few times.
And then people actually tried Guitar Hero, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, they got told no to by 1,000 different studios because nobody's going to pay money for that controller. And the final one, like one of their last-ditch efforts, said yes, and they basically had to accept the deal and then sold record-breaking numbers, and everybody came crawling to their door for part 2. Oh, brilliant. We could probably do a whole panel on the evolution of that game. Dreamcast had Maraca controllers for that Samba de Amigo game.
I didn't know about that. That's amazing. I loved the Dreamcast. A terrible console, but I love the Dreamcast.
Oh, Sega, you make some great games, but you don't know how to make hardware. Stay out of the business. Stick to your games. Style.
So as a general trend, I tend to give Resident Evil games a very high mark in style. I think this is one of the few where I'm going to buck that trend and say it was okay.
It was very gray.
It was very gray, very brown. The military installations didn't really blend with the rest of the game. The churches could have blended better.
You can go ahead and write all that. I'll give it do you want it at an okay or a bad? I guess it's not bad. Nothing really jarred to me. But did the churches really jar that much to you?
Not that much. Not enough to knock it to a bad. But I would say that it's an okay, not a good. Whereas most Resident Evil games, I would say they do an excellent job with the style.
Yeah, I mean 1 and 2 are definitely goods.
Okay, so style. The environment tone is set very early on the game, but is bucked by later sections of the game. This inconsistency holds the style grade back from being a good. The game is also very brown.
Very brown and gray, and just lots of those two tones is very not good for people with color issues. Very not good. Musical score. I don't think it's good, but I do remember enjoying it.
Yeah. I this is one of those games where they started going more and more atmospheric with the music, and it's harder and harder to notice. There are some parts of the soundtrack, though. I remember fairly early on in one of the village areas, the soundtrack sounded like a car, a very poorly maintained car with a leaky exhaust struggling to go up a hill over and over and over and over again.
Oh, I know exactly the sound you're talking about. And if it wasn't struggling, it would sound like something high performance.
It depends on the exhaust setup, but the way that it was struggling, it definitely sounded like old shitty leaky exhaust.
I mean, it's like it starts sounding like a highly tuned Honda with a fart can on it kind of idea when they got the holes in the exhaust and it's struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, I remember we were sitting smoking a doobie outside one time and we heard that sound like Bwah! Off the light. My buddy stands up and you see this little shitbox just go and he's just like, "Oh, respect the shitty car." I think the backlight on your tablet screen is toast. Oh, well, I'll try to be entertaining verbally then. The music you heard most was just the tension music anytime you fought anything. Yeah, and it was great for relaying state, and it fit the mood, and it fit the scene, and it was never space country. But it's, you know, it's not like it's going to be your daily listening or anything like that. You're probably not going to put it on when you want to get shit done.
There was no part in the game where I felt like the game experience was escalated by having the music.
Never broke the game experience. It was primarily atmosphere. It tended to fit the situation and relay state information well. Not something you're likely to jam to. And that just is what it is. Okay, voice acting.
Leon! Oh, I fucking love the voice acting in this game, but it's so terrible.
Is it actually? I think it might actually be a bad. I think it might be a genuinely better game without that.
See, I disagree though. Because of the terrible voice acting, it lends more to the schlock experience. And in my mind, at least, enhances the game. So I don't think I'm okay with a bad. I'm definitely okay with an okay. I don't think it's like, oh, this is a good example of voice acting. But I don't think it's a bad. I don't think it hurts the game because, as we discussed before, I do think this is intentional schlock.
So the camp side of it, there is a lot of camp there. It's more the grading factor of that one than anything that keeps it down to me. The memes it created. Yeah, but you can't just say that anything that starts creating memes is good. Otherwise, you're saying there's a lot of really terrible good things out there. I love how Sadler sounded like evil Ricardo Montalban. Yes. Yeah, I thought he was really well voice acted. I agree. And there are some strong points to it. I agree, it's probably intentional camp. I don't think it's a full-on bad. I had another thought there that I was trying to go to, but it just decided to go on strike. So that happens.
It left.
Yep. If it was that important of a point, it would have stuck around long enough to say its piece. The Leon Krauser stuff was kind of cringy, but in an endearing way. See, they were kind of going for that B-tier camp cringe.
And like it's just below, not like riding the line between like, oh god, this is so terrible, and like actually physically hurting to watch. It's well on the side of the, oh, this is terrible. And that's what makes me think it's intentional. So like it doesn't feel like they just tried to do a good job, but it came out terrible. They tried to do a terrible job and nailed it.
Yeah, if you step back and you look at the quantifiables of it, the audio sampling quality was good.
On the PS4 version.
Well, no. You see, that's from the original samples still, though, right? It's just a less compressed version to get onto the system, maybe cleaned up a bit.
To get a little too music production nerdy here, the masters are fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the masters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But the way that they compressed it for the earlier releases was pretty fucking awful.
No, I understand that. I do grasp what goes on that level, and I realized they sounded like ass on those systems because everything sounded like ass on those systems because it was all compressed to shit, so they could fit it in the system. But they did it right from the beginning. They made proper studio masters, and everything was of a nice high quality so that when they went back to remaster it, they had some really high quality assets they could work with. And it shows when you play the remastered versions on the newer hardware. It really does. They put a lot of thought and effort and work into making it sound and act the way it does. And something to consider is the sound and the sound design, a lot of it when they're doing it is also in the consideration of how much it'll have to be compressed. You want to do it in a way that it'll still sound good when it's compressed to go on those systems. So that really limits your choices.
And they did do it the correct way of taking a really, really good master and like, okay, how far can we compress this before it's completely unintelligible?
The voice acting was well done. See video. Because it's too much to just type it out here. But yeah, that's why it's at an okay.
TLDR, intentional schlock. Or I guess TLDW. Too long didn't watch.
Intentional schlock. It is not to the caliber that we can call it good, but it is intentional and not bad. Sound effects.
So, I think this game suffers from being old and just not having that many system resources to play with because the Foley kind of sucked.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to create what they're never going to use. You're not going to create really high quality gunshot assets and then compress them down to the PS2 level. There's just no point. It's going to come out the same way. They could have replaced those assets on the remaster. It is a remaster.
They could have. But I feel like that would have changed the feel of the weapons too much, and I think the correct decision was to not.
I would agree. I don't like too many changes in the remaster. Unless you do it the way Halo did it.
Yeah, where you can just press a button and swap back to the old version.
Yeah.
Which was incredibly well done.
Oh my god, doing it on the fly with absolutely no frame drop, I was like, oh, what have you done? What trickery is this? You can just swap render per frame. This is amazing.
Well, you know what I bet it is? I bet it's that the original games were so low overhead
that they just running it on the side. That is exactly what I figured was happening, because how else... Because you literally, like, when you hit it, it has to be able to say, okay, use this one to draw the next frame. It doesn't have a lot of time to make that change or do that, so it's got to just have it there in the buffer, like, okay, draw this one instead.
Yeah, use this pipeline. No, use the old pipeline. No, use the new pipeline. But the back on the sound effects,
10 plus different guns. Yeah.
Yeah, the Foley was not good. All the guns sounded the same. There was no variation.
Is it a bad?
It doesn't hurt the game, but it's definitely not good. I think, like, playing the game, you go, oh, well, I guess the guns all kind of sound the same. And it's a whatever. But there's a lot of ways that they could have improved. They could have had some variation to the samples. They could have had some, bigger differences between the different samples. There's just a lot of reuse of sound assets, and again, that's down to platform limitations.
You can only load so many sound files, and you need to apply sounds to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
If you play a lot of old games, you're pretty used to that.
I don't know. I don't have a lot more to say about sound effects. I didn't like it, but I understand why it is the way it is.
Yeah. They did the best they could with what they had, and it came out fine. It's playable. It won't ruin your day. It's not Space Country.
It's not Space Country. AI would...
It was okay.
Yeah, I would say it's even lacking for a game style like this, though.
They're dumb things that come at you just like any RE. They never broke. They never got stuck.
They did, though.
Did they? Did one
There
of
were
them
quite
break?
a few instances of things just like coming towards you, stopping, and then just turning around.
That was just me leashing them.
But even when you weren't backpedaling,
I don't remember that.
it's disguised by the fact that there's like 6 dudes, and they're all like trying to funnel through a doorway. But there will often be one that will just stop in the doorway and be like, I can't reach the player.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I guess I wasn't really watching it.
Because you were like, there's 6 dudes there. I'm going to shoot them all in the head. And then you did.
I shot many things in the head that game. It was quite entertaining. Except that when you shot them in the head, they didn't just die.
Sometimes they did.
Sometimes. Yeah, I think it's still
would say-
okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad enough to be a bad, but it's not a high okay.
Yeah, but there's no like single enemy just walking into a wall.
Yeah, this is true.
There's no like one enemy in a trying to come at me and oh my pathing broke and now you can just kill me.
It was, and I think the volume of enemies, because they throw a lot of enemies at you in this game, really helps disguise how simple the AI is. It makes you not really think about it. You're too busy going like, okay, that guy's not coming for me. That guy's got a gun. That guy's got a thing. I got to shoot the guy with the gun. Then I can deal with the thing that's coming for me. And then I got to deal with the guy over here who's still, for some reason, just standing behind this box. All right.
Yeah, I mean, they're supposed to be dumb too. So they can kind of get away with more than others. My kind of bar that I always like to think of for when I'm thinking bad AI is Pseudo's box kite in Cyberpunk with the super high level psycho killer that could have killed him in one hit but didn't hit him because it was too busy rolling back and forth over a box while he shot it. That's bad. Going upstairs and I can't fight you now. I'm just gonna stand here and let you shoot me.
Which there is a bit of in RE4. Like the AI did not, or the enemy behavior. It's not actually AI, but the enemy behavior did not tick very quickly in RE4, and they needed it not to in order to actually run the game.
Yeah,
but. I mean, how much of that is platform problems? How much of that is just we can get away with this because we have a lot of enemies?
but I remember enemies following me up staircases, following me up ladders, through doors. It wasn't until I was like leaving areas to go into other areas that I was causing them to leash, and that's more of a box bounding issue than anything, and that's kind of hard to fix. For the time, it was definitely acceptable. I think it's acceptable for now. It's fine.
Yeah, it's acceptable, but not like it just squeaks over that bar.
It, for the most part, does not break. Maybe just makes a few bad decisions. They are dumb. There you go. Felt like the dogs were the most aggressive enemies in the game, as they should be.
Also, some of the hardest to deal with.
As they should be. Turns out the dogs that are attacking people are typically bred to attack people, and that usually means they're pretty good at it.
True.
I used to wrestle with a boxer all the time growing up, and you cannot pin that dog.
They're like a greased dog.
Yeah, they're just they squirm and they worm their way out, and yeah, I wouldn't want her mad at me. That's for sure. Accessibility.
Do we go straight? Yeah, we go straight to the bad.
If you cannot play the game the way it is, then you cannot play it. Period.
Issues with color usage, issues with lack of rebinding. You can't change the FOV. There's vertical sync issues, so the game might just not run. You can't remap controllers on PC. Interestingly enough, there is no full controller support. You can't quit the game with a controller. There is no separate volume controls for voice, etc. There's no full captioning. There's only subtitles. The audio's actually got a fairly good coverage now that I'm looking at it for localization.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're gonna want the game to be able to sold everywhere, but it's just like we're saying. This is just a fact of the time. That's the way AAA games were back then. If you're in the 90s and you have any of those issues that we were just listing, you just weren't playing games. With subtitles, that was kind of inexcusable. You only got Japanese subtitles because apparently the voice acting was all in English in the Japanese version. That's probably on the original one. On the PS4 5 remaster, they have many languages now with many different subtitles.
Yeah, they do have subs, just no closed captioning. For the new releases. The old releases, I remember there being like, I don't think there was an option menu on the Wii version. I don't
just
think that
play game. Yeah, that's how a lot of games were. Start, load save,
play
done.
The video game.
that's your options. Can you play it? No? Too bad. What's funny is on the PS4 version, there's an option for subtitles, but it's grayed out.
Really?
I had subtitles on though.
Terrible.
I mean, the PS4 is the PS5 version. I'm just running the PS4 version on the PS5, and I had subtitles on. I always do.
Maybe you have the Ultimate HD version?
Me?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because that was an actual different release that was done by a team called Q-Lock, and is much better.
Right on. Could be.
Well, much less worse.
Much less worse.
Let's put it that way.
That's probably what I have then. Mechanics. I'm actually thinking I'm at a good.
Is there any complaints that I would have? Melee is kind of bleh, but
the
whatever.
Melee's supposed to be bleh. Yeah. Guns controlled well, puzzles were well done, level design was good, everything was well laid out.
Yeah,
I mean, even as annoying as people want to make Ashley out to be, she controlled fine.
Well, if you just leave her at the start of the area when you're playing, yes.
You can't do that. You have to move her somewhere, but yeah, you just, bring her and then leave her, find somewhere safe to put her and put her there. And, the come here command worked fine. The stay here command worked fine. I was pretty okay with it.
Quick 180 turn? I think
there was. I used it all the time. It was down in action at the same time.
Yeah, the only complaint that I have is Melee is bleh, but whatever. It's a good game.
Yeah, gun upgrades were well priced. The economy was well designed. Upgrades were worth it. I thought everything was well balanced. All the guns maintained usefulness all the way through the game. None of the bullet types ever became redundant.
The storage restriction is fantastic.
Yep.
We had a big long talk about that during the RE8 review. The way that they restrict your storage and force you to choose what you're going to bring, what you can use, I think is really well done, especially in 4.
Enemies didn't feel too spongy. I just had to pull out bigger guns, being aware that there's some numbers in the background because we have number values for our damage. I'll just pull out a gun with a bigger number and hit it with that, and it's gone. Hey, cool, it's not spongy anymore. Now it's fun again. Bang, bang, bang. Look, everything's dying. That was great. I think they intentionally make Melee bleh and RE because they don't want the average player just knifing and kicking their way through everything. That's 100% why. Because it would make the game a joke, and if Melee's too powerful to be a viable option, then it becomes much more difficult to balance ammo distribution throughout the game. If you force your player to shoot almost everything, it really allows you to fine-tune those ammo numbers.
And again, this is something that we talked about at length in RE8, but there's also the option of just not having melee deal damage.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to clue in on that one, where we can just have a field control melee where it pushes them off or pushes something back before it attacks. You can have the push off be a parry time, deflect time.
That'd be way better.
Perfect time melee, and then you don't get the bite, you just push them off of you. Hope you're listening. Pay attention.
Probably not.
Oh, it'll get to them someday. One of them will see these ideas and go, they're right. Trust us,
and then
we're
implement
right.
them, and we won't get any credits, and I'll be sad.
Yeah. We'll get a better game, though, and that was the whole point of this, is just to make games better. I don't care. Just make them better. They kind of had that in OG RE3, but it was spotty, where you could dodge/push enemies off you without really hurting them. Like I said, it was flaky at best. Yeah, it was hard in those days. The timings were difficult to match up because of how hard the systems were working and how much cheating was going on in the back. That's why action games used to suck. I said it.
They were fine.
I didn't like action games really until the PS3, 4 era. That was when it started.
Yeah. Get a lot more horsepower, do a lot more things.
In closer to real time. Weapon upgrades are well balanced. Puzzles are well designed. Economy was well balanced. Now, some people will say they gave you too much ammo, you always had big surpluses, you have way too much healing, but that's just difficulty. If you're getting hit by everything, you're not going to have too much healing. Yeah. They were just accounting for those people. Turn the difficulty up if you think you have too much healing and ammo, and it'll be gone. Weapon upgrades are well balanced. Puzzles are well designed. Economy was well balanced. What else did you really like that you wanted to mention?
Did we call out the storage?
Oh, yes. Storage was limiting and expensive.
In a very good way.
Causing it to play very well with the game design. Made you make decisions. I remember the survival horror purists were up in arms over 4 originally, simply because enemies dropped ammo/supplies. Oh, how dare they make a game gamey.
Well, it's also a different style of game, right? Like, RE4 went a lot more action horror than survival horror, and that was an intentional design. And I think it worked very well for what they were trying to do, but it wasn't a survival horror game.
But all those same people that were complaining, the survival horror purists about 1 and 2 or 4 changing so much, when 7 came out and put it back more towards that style, then they were complaining that they're not zombies anymore. So maybe those people just like to complain.
Yeah. Entirely possible.
They're not zombies, no. They're kind of boring mold men, but it was still a really good game. Bugs.
Bugs. On the PS4 5 version, which is what we're talking about, seemed fine.
Yeah, I didn't find any. I didn't crash. Shinji Mikami even said in an interview he felt like 4 was a necessary change for the series because he felt like it was starting to stagnate. 100% agree with him.
Yeah.
100% agree with him. And I feel like 7 was a necessary change for the series because the series was starting to stagnate. It's almost like they've realized the rule of 3. 3 games, change style. 3 games, change style. It's keeping the series fresh and going. Not very many series remain this good after 8 games. So we're at a good?
For the PS4, PS5 version, I would say it's a good for bugs.
You should not need to worry about bugs.
PC is a whole different story.
Avoid the PC version. Unless it's Dark Souls, then it's 3 games, then add a horse.
Oh, you're getting nuked. But Elden Ring, based on what I've seen of the gameplay, and I won't go too deep into it because Deus is trying to stay spoiler free, looks really good.
That is, that's not a spoiler. I am right at that assumption level already. That's just, you're just saying stuff I know.
That's why I'm not saying more.
Hidetaka is at the helm. We know where it's going. RNG is good. No, it's okay.
Yeah. What bothered you?
Don't they have crit headshots?
They probably do. I had always assumed it was RNG on whether or not the head splinker would spawn, but it's probably crit headshots. So yeah, it's okay.
Take away crit headshots and it's wonderful. Loot-based table drops are RNG on if it drops. You never figure that either. Yeah.
Control greatly improved from previous entries in the series.
Still an okay, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a good. It's not like incredible controls where you're like, wow, this is really just the most responsive, snappiest thing. But greatly improved from the previous games. The camera angle really, really helps that.
Plays a big role in this. Even if you usually need double inversion, try changing the aiming to your left thumb. Worked greatly for me. Yeah.
There was something else I was going to say, and I've forgotten what it was.
The game isn't okay all the way through, but because it has really good mechanics and just really good mechanics, it was just fun. The core game loop is great. It's fun. The mechanics are right. I guess I I'm a big fan of games with solid mechanics, and that's why I enjoyed it so much. If you're an RE fan, I recommend it.
I remembered what I was going to say. The shakiness in the aim that you were dealing with was not present on the Wii version because they just took raw input from the Wiimote.
Yeah.
And it made it just super easy to headshot.
Click, 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 click. Yeah, I could see that being much easier. Yeah, I didn't even think of that, but yeah, it would feel horrible if it was swaying while you were pointing to aim. Yeah, it would be terrible.
The Wii version was the easiest version.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solidly okay on our review systems, but solidly okay is not a bad thing. When it came out, it was the best Resident Evil game.
And it for the most part holds up. Still really fun.
Yeah, it's still a really good game. As a first play and not the biggest Resident Evil fan on the planet, that was a really good game. Not one you want to miss. Recommend it. Control. Talking of games that I would recommend.
So this one, I'm going to try very hard to temper my love of the game to be as objective as possible. Just putting that bias out there.
Yeah. Yep. We both will. And that's why world building is only going to get an okay despite us really liking what's there.
Expand. Because I want emotionally I want to argue with that, so I want to know what your thought process is.
I mean, I love the bits that are there, but there's not a lot.
You also skipped over a ton of optional stuff.
Okay, you know what? That's fair. That's a fair argument. I've heard the optional stuff is the best part too.
I would agree with that assessment. One of my favorite examples that isn't too far into the game, so it's not a big spoiler, is the furnace room. When you were in the furnace room throwing those barrels of toxic waste into the furnace, there's an audio log and a note in that room. You started the audio log and then immediately ran away to go throw barrels into the furnace because that's why you were there. I'd do. And you picked up the note and then proceeded to not read it.
Yeah, I didn't read a lot of this. There's so much reading in it.
So much. Which is why it's a great off-stream play. Like, I would recommend playing it again off-stream if you ever find the time for that. Deus also didn't read a lot of the documents, which have some of the most interesting, amusing stuff in the game. Big agree. But the story of that furnace is that it is either an object of power or possessed by an object of power. The furnace hungers. It needs to be fed. That's why you're throwing those barrels into it. And the audio that you get, as well as the notes from Ati about the furnace, really give it like this kind of sinister feel, and you're just like, Jesus Christ, what is going on with this thing? Why do they keep it around? And it really enhances that side mission to the point where it's like it sticks out very vividly in my mind. Also, you forgot to update the top title.
I did. You could have told me to read the documents if you wanted me to read more of them, Val. I apologize for skipping so much of them.
Some of them are hilarious. Like the bathroom complaint, I think, is really, really good. A lot of the complaints, honestly, like, because you just get these throwaway letters that are internal memos of somebody complaining about some part of the building, and they're fantastic. I love them.
I should have read more of them to see if they were how fluffy they were. When I saw that there was no fluff, I probably would have read more of them.
Yeah, there are some that are almost entirely fluff, but they are a very small minority.
I think I did read a bunch at the beginning, and I just wasn't finding interesting stuff in the first letters. And I just kind of
Yeah,
got bored of reading them.
you read 3 or 4, and then you were like, okay, I'm done with this.
I like reading about all the objects of power, too. Some of them were unnerving, some were hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, I was reading everything at the start, if I think about it. It fluffed me off. But the gameplay was fun, and the audio was good. The audio logs were all interesting. There wasn't a lot of garbage in that. So I stuck to those. Because in my mind, if they've gone to the extent of like recording it and all that, then it's going to be relevant.
Yeah. And to that side, again, talking about the furnace side quest, it was very relevant, and it does give you a lot more context and like a sense of wonder about the furnace. You're not there just, throwing away trash. You're feeding an object of power that otherwise will consume whole areas of the building.
Gotcha. Yeah, is it? Yeah, I guess it really does. It piggybacks a lot of the world because it's whatever era USA.
Yeah, absolutely. It does piggyback on contextual knowledge.
Yeah, because it's an altered current reality kind of idea. But I guess it does go a lot. But so if somebody was all about the world building, then you would say, yeah, play this and read that?
I would.
You'll miss a lot of the objects of power too in that game if you don't go off the beaten path. Yeah, I may go back and play it off stream.
It's a very good off-stream game. What your experience on stream, I think, is representative of what most on-stream experiences would be, because there's just so much little detail to go pouring over.
Not always the best viewing for everyone. Me sitting here reading forever.
Not super great for on-stream. So I want to give it at least a high okay.
I mean, if you're that passionate about it, and you're saying there's that much depth in all of it, and I've heard multiple people tell me that all of the side content is by far the best part of the game. So, with that said, if you want to write it, you can give it a good.
I'd totally write it. That is a thing that I can do. If I can click on this link. There we go.
Link clicked.
So, world building, good. Description. The world you are exposed to through the main story is somewhat limited. And you can miss out on a great deal of content if you do not read the optional side content read/play the optional side content.
Yeah, the videos too.
If you're into world building, this game is recommended.
Let me just shrink that down to pinhead size. There we go. It fit perfectly.
Nice.
Characters. Big fan of the main character. Big fan of Ahti.
Ahti's the best. I love Ahti. I like the fact that they don't write for Polaris. I think that was really smart.
Yep. First I was wondering how Deus got through the game so fast, but then I realized he didn't do a lot of the side stuff or read everything like I did. It's just so much reading.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
I think they could have cut out a lot of the fluff stuff and cut down on the raw bulk that way, and then had a much more concise package that would be more engaging.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny that you say Gary Busey's stunt double. That makes me laugh, but he just looks like an old Finnish dude. But the character writing, I think they handled extremely well in this game. I think Jesse is extremely well written. I think all of the, relatively high-ranking members of the Bureau of Control that you interact with are well written.
Big fan of Ahti. Love to hate what was his role or name? The doctor. Was he a doctor? The guy managing all the relics of power. He said he cleansed them all.
Dr. Darling.
Love to hate
No. The Dr. Darling was the guy who was actually researching the objects of power. You're talking about the guy who was the custodian of the Doctors of Power.
Yeah.
He's... What was his name, Val?
Dylan?
No, Dylan was Jesse's brother.
Oh. Yeah, right. I'm really bad with names, sorry. I liked Jesse's brother as a character. I didn't get to learn a lot about him, but he was intriguing.
Yeah, very good story around him. Steinman?
The Oops Custodian. That's what I'm going to call him.
Forget his name, too. Control Cast.
Dylan was intriguing.
Frederick Langston. That was his name.
More Polaris. Not being written for was an excellent decision. Yeah. That's the biggest spoiler I can make it. I want to explain what I'm saying by that, but if I do, I ruin stuff for anybody watching this that hasn't played. I can't do that to you because it's too good. Because the storyline itself... Yeah, the storyline's good.
Is it? Because this is the one part of the writing that I would say is acceptable as an okay.
I guess more of that falls into world building, really, what I'm thinking for storyline.
Yeah,
the whole background of the council and the Black Pyramid. And, yeah, that's all world building, really.
The storyline itself is fairly simple.
Yeah.
Like, Jesse is thrown into an unfamiliar situation and has to deal with that while trying to find her brother.
Yeah.
And, like, that's kind of the whole thing.
Well, yeah, thrown into it because she's trying to find her brother. But yeah, it's basically girl looking for her brother after strange thing happened.
I think it's necessary for it to be simple because of all of the character and world building.
It would have had to be longer.
Yeah. And the game may have outstayed its welcome. As a full disclosure, the game did outstay its welcome for me. I didn't enjoy the combat mechanics as much as Deus did. Hey, Snow.
Hey, Snow, welcome. The combat mechanics weren't like the most amazing thing in the world, but they were fun. They controlled well.
Oh yeah, the control was great. But the mechanics themselves just kind of lost me about halfway through the game.
All I did was telekinesis everything.
Yeah, exactly. It was by far the best way to deal with things. And then I'm like, okay, I'm kind of done with this.
The beginning starts out very strong because they did an excellent job of setting the stage for the world and instilling the creepy, unsettling vibe of everything. But it kind of loses its way somewhere along the line in parts. I would agree. Once the mystery starts going away is when it starts falling apart, which is typical of things that try to be unexplainable. But the storyline is okay.
I would say it's
is acceptable.
solid.
to keep the game moving forward. It is well paced. It makes enough sense for the world it is in. A fine line there.
Yep. Performance.
I mean, it ran fine on my system on max everything.
Yeah, after 2 years of patches. It ran like garbage on release.
But it's not release anymore. Sounds good for dinner. I honestly was confused at some parts of Control. You're supposed to be.
It's a confusing game.
Yeah. That was their intention.
What sounds good for dinner? You should get burrito.
Ooh.
You should have a burrito for dinner.
I want a burrito now. I haven't had a burrito in a while. Let's finish this review so I can eat food. Played Control on both a normal PS4 and your Pro. You noticed a difference. Can't recommend playing it on a vanilla PS4. I can't recommend playing anything on a vanilla PS4.
Yeah, it just wasn't strong enough for what they were trying to do with it. On PC, with your rig, granted that the game is super gorgeous, I still think it should run better than it does.
I was encoding it as well at the same time. Something to keep in mind. But yeah.
Yeah, and even when I played it, like I did reinstall the game to play it again when I got my 6900 XT, and I was like, oh, I'm only getting like 70 FPS. Ew.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we can say not everything can be Doom Eternal, but it could.
It literally could, though. It's been done. It can be Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Performance, yeah, I think performance being okay for how good the game looks is fine. We don't recommend playing on a vanilla PS4.
A lot of frame dips in the playthrough on the Pro and the vanilla, or just the vanilla?
Actually, while you were playing, I was noticing frame dips. But that could have been due to encoding.
Could be. I think it might be partly the engine too. When it's doing a lot of high res and you turn too quickly is when I tended to notice that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, when I played it, yeah. Okay, he was saying the same thing. Animation.
There was a fair number of points in the game where I was noticing it dropping down to like the 40s and 50s. But I mean, whatever. Animation was fantastic. The gun transformations looked great. The enemies animated really well. The physics was great. The particle animations when you were like TKing things around was phenomenal. Incredible animation.
I remember teleporting specifically. The first time I teleported, I was like, "Whoa, that's cool!"
Yeah.
Had a burrito yesterday.
Oh, so maybe no burrito today. What about fried chicken? Style also excellent.
Pretty games, you must play this game. Yes, if you like pretty games, you must play this game, period.
Yep.
Can we basically say that?
It is graphically defining for a whole generation of games.
Also, in my opinion, the best game the studio has made. Though I got
Hands down.
told off for that and told it was Max Payne 2. So that was some person's opinion.
I can see where they're coming from with that. Max
Yeah.
Payne 2 was really good.
I love the guy that couldn't take his eyes off that item. Yeah.
Poor fridge guy. That would just be the worst job.
Especially when that stuff goes all to shit. Like, oh my god, he's been in there for over a day.
And probably hasn't blinked the whole time.
He's not allowed to. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the end of that quest, Snow? I'm sorry if you did. Musical score. Good.
Very, very good use of the tension building music, the atmosphere setting music, but not something that's going to make playlist.
What about the ashtray maze?
Yeah. Ashtray Maze was pretty great. The
music in the game, maybe not the entire game, but definitely multiple points of the game, greatly enhanced the experience.
Oh yeah. The Ashtray Maze music was fantastic. The weird series of ambient noises they would play in combat, also very good. And I think this is one of the reasons why I struggle rating music, because it's like, yeah, this isn't the sort of thing that is going to make playlist. It's not going to be something that you're listening to on your own time. But at the same time, this is an example of how ambient music and ambient sound can really, really enhance your experience of a game.
Not just that, but ashtray maze.
Also the Ashtray Maze music, yeah.
The ashtray maze. Other than that part, it's okay. If that part was not there. But with that added in, the whole experience of the music throughout the game is a strong good.
I would even say, like, it's, if not good, very close to verging on good without the Ashtray Maze segment.
I could go
but
with
the
that.
Ashtray Maze segment, like, knocks it into the stratosphere.
Yeah. Without that part, you could make arguments for okay. I only got to watch Deus beat his head against the ashtray maze for 20 minutes when he got there too early.
See, I didn't actually know the solution to that, so I was thinking of like, oh, this would be a sick puzzle if it's like a binary search, but you need to reset which node you're going through, so you need to like backtrack a certain amount of times to reset rooms in order to get it to go through. Would have been an amazing puzzle, but it's not actually what it is.
No. No, it was just, you shouldn't be here, but we're not going to tell you that. Thanks. The voice acting was good.
Voice acting was fantastic.
Voice acting is human, organic, and came across natural. Yes.
Yeah, the performances for everybody we listed under characters are very,
Adi
very good.
stands out in particular, though everyone
Though his accent is a bit off.
noted below is noteworthy. Yeah, we won't put it in the voice acting, but yes, it was pointed out to us that he does have a fairly English accent to his Finnish.
Sound effects.
We have very few gripes about the game. Sometimes it didn't make it very clear where you needed to go next, or at least outline where you can and can't go. I agree. Sound effects were good.
There were a couple of points where it didn't give you very good direction.
Telekinesis and gun sounds were super satisfying, especially the Pierce.
Oh yeah, Pierce is so good.
Big hole in the wall. You're like, yes.
The shotgun sound, I know you didn't use it, but the shotgun sound is also quite good. The
Sounds also well used to relay state information. Everything sounds crisp and in place for the world. Edge areas sound otherworldly and eerie. Yeah.
Threshold is the word you're looking for there.
Enemy behavior / AI.
Probably one of the better implementations of enemy behavior that we've seen, because they don't just walk at you. Enemies will take cover, they will flank you, they will move around.
Yeah, throw grenades from range, change behavior based on how far you are. They actually try to stick to the areas where they should have an advantage.
If you weren't Jesse, they would have a pretty big advantage.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best environment destruction engines I've seen in a game, along with Red Faction Guerrilla. Big agree.
Yes. Yep. I thought you were saying that. I didn't realize Val was saying it. Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. Loved the destruction in both those games. The Red Faction original one gets a special shout out for doing it first.
Yeah.
That was the first game where you could just like, this door is locked. Rocket launcher to the wall. Not locked no more.
Not a problem. Felt like the flying enemies were the biggest challenge in that game from start to finish.
You played on control. You've had controller though, is why. It wasn't so. They weren't so bad with. Actually, yeah, I guess. Just because you gain so much power over everything on the ground with your telekinesis.
Yeah.
It just dominates everything on the ground. The air things could get a dodge in, and then they'd send a lot of them at you. Them or the exploding guys are probably what killed me the most. Exploding guys are dicks.
The exploding guys, I know why they were there. They're for players like us. But God, I hate those.
Is it an okay?
I would say it's a good. I would say this is a good example of enemy behavior. Like I called out initially, the fact that they have the ability to flank, the fact that they don't just run at you, the fact that they will choose their position as like, okay, I should have an advantage here.
Shotgun was great against the splody guys. You could only have 2 weapons to swap between, though, right?
Yeah.
I was running shotgun.
I was running shotgun and Pierce most of the time.
Oh yeah. I liked pistol Pierce. That was solid. That pistol did great damage.
I liked the shotgun because it was a close range, you're not a problem anymore, and Pierce because it was a long range, you're not a problem anymore.
Pistol was pretty you're not a problem anymore for anything close range too. Just click rapidly on the head and it disappeared.
Not as good as the shotgun.
I didn't have it for a long time. If I did more side stuff, I probably would have had more weapons and them upgraded and played with them more. Enemy behavior is diverse. They will flank, alter strategy depending on position. Nothing ever broke or got stuck. The enemy reacts very organically and does not feel super gamey. Feels like you're fighting the thing. I did use it a little bit.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, immediately
have been
after I got
AFK.
it, I used it for like 5 minutes and went back to Pierce. Like, this is fine. Pierce is better. I never even considered swapping my pistol out. That was my default weapon. It was
The
good
pistol
for it.
is really good.
It's good for every situation. It's got a nice amount of ammo. Yeah. Accessibility.
No colorblind modes. The only thing they did was change the health bar to from either orange to yellow.
Colorblind modes.
No full closed captioning, though there was subtitles.
Like the plasma cutter. Good for everything. Yep. Individual audio sliders.
No FOV adjustment, but it's third person, so that's less egregious. The video options in general are very, very good.
Yeah. Good engine. Super surprised when it was built in-house, and I can't wait to see what else they do with it. I'm super looking forward to the next game on it.
If it can hold up to the quality of control, then it's something to keep your eyes on for sure. Controller sensitivity and aiming sensitivity were there. Double inversion is there. Vibration control. You can swap the left and right sticks. You can toggle aim assist, aim stickiness. You can toggle your sprint mode from toggle to held. Yeah, it's actually really quite good for accessibility.
Quite
the only
good.
thing it's missing is the color blindness, really.
So you want to give it a good?
Yeah,
Got full rebinding and everything. Yeah.
I would say so. And the subtitle options are excellent. Like, you can adjust the size, you can adjust the background, you can toggle whether or not there's a background on it or not. There, you can toggle on translations for the signs in the game, which is awesome.
I agree. Hold on one sec.
You can also change your controller button, like, bindings, the little graphics that it shows. And there is a DX11 and DX12 version, and if you're not using the DX12 version, you're doing it wrong.
And thank you so much for the gift sub, Snow. Welcome to the table again, Val. Enjoy that comfy chair. Let me just get that on the stream for you. There we go. I fixered it. I'm sorry. Please don't spronk me. Watch my back. Mechanics. We're okay.
Yeah, the TK was too strong to use any of your other powers in combat, other than the dodge. The shooting mechanics were fine.
Powers causing many parts of the game to become irrelevant. The guns felt great, and the single energy bar between them played well.
Yep.
Movement abilities were nice. Though not always very required. Kind of felt like they gave me movement just to give me movement at times.
Ooh, there's a 32:9 mod for control. Gonna have to go play this game again.
Y'all a triple threat? Huh? What? Triple? What? You're tired. I'm sorry to hear that, Board.
Really, you got a lot of use out of the mind control? I probably slept on that ability then.
Yeah, I don't even think I got it.
No, you did. You
Did
used
I?
it a couple of times.
Oh, that thing. Yeah, it was fine. I used it more as a, this'll be funny, than I need to use this now. The mechanics were fine. The stuff they give you at the beginning is just overpowered, and you don't really need anything else, and luckily those are well polished and super fun and play well, so it's fine.
Ended up ordering pasta. Chicken place was closed. Rip.
Pasta sounds good. I like pasta. Bugs?
I don't recall many. Let me scroll down oh, there's quite a few.
But they're not game breaking,
of
it sounds like. Probably visual stuff.
crashing. Well, ray tracing is enabled on GTX cards. Crash to desktop while fighting Anchor. Stuttering when opening the map. There used to be an issue where the game required SSE 4.2. The hiss voices were in a different language. I would not have noticed that. No choice of DirectX 10, 11 or 12. That was fixed. Texture streaming used to have issues. Fixed. Ray tracing options unavailable. Fixed.
I said, many crashing and stuttering bugs continues to be fixed. Personally, no issues, but experiences may vary.
Yeah, I think that's a good descriptor.
But your experience... We used exactly the same words, Val. Letter for letter. RNG. I don't think there is any. I don't think there's any at all. Oh, yeah, right. I had that one graphical bug at the first playthrough day where my gun reticle was stuck on the screen during cutscenes.
State bug, whatever.
Yep.
Only RNG I can think of is loot tables for drops for gun parts and gun upgrades.
What did that drop from? Did that drop from
fine.
enemies? It did drop from enemies. Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
drop from enemies based on which area you're in.
Use loot table. Item drops. No other RNG noticeable. The control in control is as good as it should be given the name.
Yeah, game
Spoiler,
controls very well.
That means very good. Yeah. Control was fantastic in it. I loved it. It was so crisp and sharp and responsive. How was it on controller for you, Val? It was on keyboard mouse. It was just lovely. I mean, due to camera being over shoulder, sometimes I shot things instead of where my reticle was, but that was just because there was actually a wall in front of my gun. We really had a problem getting the crafting materials. I was getting the currency for the upgrades because anytime you died, you lost a huge percentage of it. Just don't die. That's what I did. Just don't die.
Pretty sure it was 10% of your total you lost every time you died.
Felt watertight as a frog's butthole on controller. Experience was the same.
That is a saying.
Experience was the same on PC, and we had a rare 4 good.
Yeah, Control's a really good game. I really wanted to dislike it when it first came out, just emotionally, because they were pushing RTX as like, oh, you have to buy one of these super expensive cards. And the game did run very poorly on release. But it's a good game. It's really good.
It really is. Solid. And we managed to stop just pretty much right at 6. Look at that. We made it.
Nice.
We got like 4 or 5 minutes before we go. If anybody has any questions, comments, or disagreements with the review, speak now before it gets written and can never be changed. Nothing.
I guess it's a good game.
You guys think this will get a sequel? I hope so. I think it's done well enough.
So I actually disagree. I think it should get an X pack, like a full-on X pack. I know it got some DLC missions, but it should get a full-on X pack, and then they should move to a new property.
I hope they continue to use this for other properties, but I think there's enough started in the world building that you could make a competent sequel/prequel that would be great.
Prequel, I'm scared of them doing another Alan Wake, honestly.
I said could. Pookie's dinner sounds good too. Do you know what I'm having for dinner?
Get some of his dinner.
I don't know what I'm having. She just said it sounds good. Do you have insider information on my dinner, Snow?
No, we are not interested in playing Alan Wake. At least I'm not. I can't speak for Deus. But the character writing is terrible. Alan is a terrible character. He's bad. He's a bad person. And the gameplay was uninspiring, and the games just kind of drag on.
As you saw, we don't like characters who are dicks.
Especially to their partners. So let me set the stage. You've heard good things about these Alan Wake video games, and they've finally gone on sale, real cheap on Steam. And you're okay, you know what? I can buy 2 of them for $10. I'm going to go in, I'm going to buy these games, and I'm going to try them out because I've heard good things. They don't seem like they'd typically be my thing, but I'm going to try them out. And you fire up the game. You go, oh, ooh, that's a fancy intro screen. Look at all these nice graphics. This really cinematic feeling. Let's get rolling. I'm interested in this game now. And then you start the game. The first cutscene of the game rolls, and the main character of the game, the one that you're supposed to play as, is abusive to his partner. Does that leave a good taste in your mouth? No, it does not.
Well, it might leave a good taste in some people's mouths. It does not leave one in ours, though. Anyway, that has chewed up the last minutes. Way to drag it down. So we're going to go ahead and raid CardTube, who's playing Evergrace 2, one of the greatest FromSoft games ever made on the PS2. So, get your tables ready, and we'll go spam the hell out of him with tables. I'll be back a little later, maybe with some Returnal, maybe with something else. We'll definitely, probably, maybe do some pew-pew later. So until the next time I see you, I'm Deus.
And I'm Rage.
May all your shots be headshots.